Welcome back. Today we are talking with Marie-Helene Primeau. We are talking about top risks and tools. We've talked about the role of business continuity plans. And in this segment, we're going to talk about the importance of preparedness and leadership. Marie, I can't wait to hear your response to this one. I'm often finding that our business continuity plans or programs sometimes are not in alignment with leadership and executive expectations. What are your thoughts? How does that happen, first of all? And what are your thoughts on how we bring those together?
Well, how it happens. Well, often it's the way that the actual mandate of business continuity, happened within the organization. So it depends how it, got happened to be there. Was it top management that asked for it? Did it came from an audit uh, point? Was it an audit finding, or was it because it was required for conformity purposes? So where does it lie in the structure? So there's different reason why there may be a disconnect between the actual, how the executive's expectation and the actual program. Um, Often business continuity is seen as something that has, for the ones that have to do it, is just, another tick in the box. So something that needs to be done for conformity purposes. I was shocked one day when someone who had been working in business continuity for many years, well, as a manager, came to me and said, well, I just realized that business continuity was there to keep the promise that we make to our clients. I was like, isn't that why we're doing business continuity? So if even the person who was managing the team thought that, well, how can it, you know, what message are you bringing up to the top? Um, so I think there's many ways in which, we can make the program more connected to the executives. Obviously, if it was a desire of the executive, that helps. But having a sponsor, having someone at the top that understands the value and can be sitting and, and defending business continuity around this executive table. So that's for one, and if you can have a steering committee that is, a standing committee. It might be specific, if you're lucky, you can have one specific to business continuity, but it could also be part of enterprise risk management, for example, where there's an opportunity on a quarterly basis to talk to executives or to top leaders of the organization to raise, the conversation, raise the profile of business continuity so that they understand the value that you're bringing to the business. And for that, well, you can also be, sometimes as the professional in business continuity who's the one who's maybe responsible to be, you know, not necessarily that vocal about the value of what they're bringing. So, I talked earlier about the good practice guidelines. The Premier Continuum were also instructors for the Business Continuity Institute, who are training partners. And in the new version of the good practice guidelines, in the second professional practice, which is embracing business continuity, used to be embedding business continuity. So there's a desire to bring it from the head to the heart. And there's a big piece around marketing and understanding the value. So we need to be advocate. We need to tie into how can we market the program, and that starts with talking with top management, ensuring that talk to them about their concerns. What brings them up? What keeps them up at night, and see how can business continuity help them resolve that. So talking their language, understanding that because business continuity, yes, it can be for the big shebang, the big disaster, but it can also help in minor situations. Business continuity isn't about everything, but let's say there's a extreme weather event. People have to be displaced, and because there's a major fire or there's a flood. Well, we can leverage, even though it may not be major for the organization, but the ability of people to work from home or work from another location can be a benefit. And that's business continuity to assist that, to be able to reach out and, using the notification tool that we may have, well, to say, well, guys, tomorrow we're not going to the office, we're doing something different. Or we have a cyber attack, and an understanding from a cyber perspective, because that's definitely key and top of mind in most executive. Well, yes, IT's there to identify and eradicate if there's a malware within the organization, but the actual structure to continue operation, well, that's business continuity. And people do need to think about, if systems aren't available, how can I continue? There's a response structure. You talked about incident response team, crisis management team. These people are used to dealing with an incident that doesn't exist. So it's important that, not that doesn't exist, but something new that's happening, so that they can adapt and be agile, and when something occurs. So it's important that the executive understand that structure and that they're in line with it. Because when something happens, if they're going to be throwing it away and saying, well, I'm the one who's now going to be handling the situation, well, people will feel that they've planned for nothing, or they haven't been listened to. So giving as much visibility as possible to the planning cycle, making sure that they understand what they're approving. And that's also a key, component of the cycle of the business continuity management system, that you should go back to top management for approvals. Like, once we've decided what are the business critical activities, well, are they in line with that? When we need to have budget, we need to go back and get budget for those strategies and solutions. So the more they hear about business continuity throughout the year, not overwhelming them, but the more you do that, well, the more, they'll think about business continuity when things go wrong. Another area, earlier on in our, talk today, we're talking about risks. So when you're having, that conversation with top management to understand what's keeping them up at night, well, you should ask them, well, look at, what they're looking at, what the news report they're looking at, what they're watching, but also bringing sources such as the Global Economic Forum and the World Economic Forum and the Global Risk Report. I was confused, but the World Economic Forum and the Global Risk Report, and they're always on the lookout at what other leaders are saying. So it brings value to what you're putting forward, as well as the horizon scan from the BCI, and just what's going on with your different competitors. Maybe you've been lucky, but not your competitor. So bringing those, raising why there's value in what we're doing.
A lot of teams, and I've come across this actually in the last couple of conferences, a lot of business continuity teams are teams of one. So how do any advice for them how to get their message across and up the ladder? Is it different? Should they try different things to get their message across? Because if you're a director, shall we say, and you have other managers and other people reporting to you, sometimes getting your message up the ladder is easier than someone without a management title. And getting their messages up, because by the time their message gets up the ladder, it's been watered down so bad that the right things aren't being communicated. Do you have any tips of how a team of one might be able to do things maybe a little bit differently, or something that you find has worked in from your side?
Well, I mentioned earlier, if you're part, let's say, of enterprise risk management, well, that could be a venue, an area you can use.
Mhm.
There might also be some internal communication team within the organization that can help in, let's say, more generally speaking, doing a campaign to raise awareness about business continuity. So leveraging resources that are available in other sectors, maybe cyber. So teaming up with, other groups that are part of operational resilience, that could help you in bringing the message, and talking to them and ensuring that they understand the value that you're bringing, because there's so much of information that we're gathering in our business impact analysis, understanding what the requirements are, what the priorities are. But when budgets are scarce, if at least you've made the effort of justifying why you're not asking for everything, well, I think they'll appreciate this effort. And if you can get an exercise or an auditor, that can also help in raising the profile of business continuity.
It's like we always say, build our networks. So if you're a team of one, you can do that too. You don't have to have a fancy title to build a network.
Of course, take opportunities. There can be some initiatives within the organization when you can meet people from other sectors, one-on-one, that are like a speed dating that exists. So those can be opportunities as well. And again, using intranet and so that you expand your network, look at reports and see how you can build up. But, eventually everyone reports to someone. So there
Yeah.
should be a way of, and if you could bring those again, look at reports that have been issued or, what happened with a competitor or what happened with an insurance report. So those can be, tied, let's say even like if insurance premiums have increased, well, maybe that's something that you can speak with the insurance manager and see how business continuity can contribute and be seen as a solution as well.
Yeah, and I like the part you mentioned, enterprise risk management too, is going to them, finding out what's on that risk register, finding out
Hmm.
what is right in front of your leadership, and identifying how your business continuity plans and processes address. You might not address every single risk, but hey, we contribute to that one. We contribute to this one. That's going to give you visibility.
Definitely.
You know,
That's definitely an area.
I like what you said earlier on too about understanding leadership expectations and having that conversation. I've told this story before. I had a situation, it's about 15 years ago, where we had a BIA and we had our list of processes, and the first cut always has a whole pile of, everything is priority, right? And the first cut. So I sat with the sponsor, who was the CFO at the time, Doug, and I said, Doug, here's the first cut. And he said, this is embarrassing. And I went bright red, going, oh my God, I've done hundreds of these BIAs things. What did I do wrong? And he said, our own organization don't know leadership expectations. He goes, we have failed. And then we found out what they were, and we brought that big list down to a very small few. But it was, you really do have to have sometimes those tough, conversations to
Yeah,
make it
definitely.
happen.
And that goes back, in the BCI business continuity management system, where the first professional practice is also its policy and program management. So understanding the context of the organization. And that's actually one of the reasons why often it's actually someone within the organization that's given the mandate of business continuity, because understanding the business is one of the key areas and understanding the network that exists within the organization. You can then bring on some expertise and knowledge of business continuity, but understanding the business is one of the key success factor. And having this, you know, engagement, having a policy written. I know sometimes we don't do that and get the policy written, but if you do get that policy, or it might be called differently within your organization, but getting that signature from top management will help in getting things moving within, the lower levels of the organization, but also making sure that there's a clearer expectation as to why we're doing business continuity and know the focus. Sometimes they could decide that they don't want to get ready for any type, like we talked about consequences earlier. Well, the expectations could be, well, you know what? We want to focus on loss of IT first, and then eventually we'll build up on other stuff. So we need to be flexible as well and listen to what their expectations are, and but be there to let them know that they're letting an area open that there could be exposed to other risks.
Right. Well, we've got 2 minutes left. Again, time just flies. Do you have any final thoughts that you'd like to share on any of the topics we've already talked about, or something else you'd just like to get across to our resilience and business continuity professionals?
A big ask there. Well, I think I've covered many of the elements that does passionate me about business continuity and making sure that, we remain relevant in there's so much value in the work that we do. Don't, stay just in gathering information. You have information that many in the organization would be jealous about. So share those and you'll see as much how the benefit, the value you bring. It'll raise your profile and make sure you have that connection with executive leadership and staying abreast of what could be happening. Well, it will build the muscle, so that you're more ready to respond and make sure that you validate. So exercises is one thing of bringing everyone together, but any day when something new happens in the media, you can ask yourself, well, would we have been ready for that or not? So that helps you in validating constantly the value of what you're building.
Yeah, I like that piece that you just said, watching what's happening to competitors and other places, and then questioning yourself and your organization. Would the same thing have happened to us if that occurred? Are we better prepared or less prepared than how our competitor responded? And can we capitalize on it? And that will really show your value. It's like, oh, what you're doing could make us money.
Hmm.
Wow,
Yeah. Because if
that'll
you're
get
doing it
attention.
better than them and we're both exposed to the same situation, then yes, it can definitely be an opportunity.
Yeah, yeah. I know there is that expression, I believe it's a Chinese expression, there's opportunity in crisis, and it's true. There can be. We can see things happen. Hey, we can improve. We can be better. We can become more resilient, by learning from that, you know. Well,
Exactly.
Marie-Helene, thank you so much for joining us once again. I really appreciate you sharing your time and all your knowledge with us.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for having me on the show.
My pleasure, and I'm sure there will be another time as well down the road. So thank you so much.
Thanks to you.
And everyone watching and listening, stay prepared, everybody. If you liked that video, thumbs up. If you didn't like that video, thumbs down. But leave me a message and let me know your thoughts. Of course, don't forget to subscribe. And in the meantime, stay prepared, everybody.